Another big time story, but this time it's part two. Eli Dixon career began in 1990. Um, Two silvers and the bronze medal. Was on the USA boxing team, ranked number two in the country. Correction, had fights against Andrew Galata, Jimmy Thunder, Bone Crusher, Smith. What's that? Vladimir Klitschko,
Yeah.
and fought at the WBC heavyweight international continental title. Professional 22-9, 15 knockouts, finishing up with Mike Tyson story we're talking about from before, and he's back on again. And also, we're going to be talking about who? Don King. It's a tell-all um, story, round two, Eli Dixon. And let's give it up for the candidates tonight because somebody's going to be a president tonight.
That's right. That's
We're
right.
going to talk about that too.
Okay. How you
All
doing
right, you
today?
on the clock. Eli Dixon,
Oh,
round
okay.
two.
All right. Well, from the last time we talked, and I was telling you like the last time I was in camp with Mike Tyson, I had they wanted me to come out to become to they wanted me to come out to spar with him in Vegas, and at that time my youngest son was being born, and I kind of went out there thinking that everything was going to be okay. And once I got there, I got ready to get in the ring. I got the looking over there, and I saw Mike Tyson whisper to some of the other his managers or some of his friends, and they just asked me to come out the ring, and they was talking about they was going to take me back to the hotel room. And from that point, they was just telling me that they don't know what was going on. And they said, I don't know what's up between you and Mike, but you know, um, they just said we're going to take you back to the airport. And I said, well, no, you can't do that, because I said I ended up coming out here because my son was being born. I said, and I just took a
Yeah,
chance. So, make a long story short, we end up talking about it, and from that point, it was time to kind of break off and do my own thing. So that after him getting out of jail and us having an opportunity to see one another again, it didn't turn out the way I wanted to turn out. So I came back to Cleveland, Ohio, and next thing you know, I got another phone call from a guy named Samson Puha that was an upcoming heavyweight that fought Andrew Galata, had Andrew Galata knocked out in about the sixth or seventh round.
yeah,
And they had me to come out there to spar with him, and there was some Mormons that was in St. George, Utah. So I went ahead and I caught the plane and went out there. And I kept saying, this kid named Samson Puha, I know him because we fought in amateur together. We was in the National Golden Gloves.
uh
And
huh,
when I got there, the first person I saw was his father, and his father was like, "Hey, that's Eli." I said, "Hey, how you doing, Mister Puha?" And he said, "I'm an island man." He said, "I don't know that much." So
yeah,
they ended up taking me to the gym, and you could tell that these Mormons, they was millionaires, and it was about maybe five of them that was there at the gym. So they had got a chance to meet me and say hi, and you're the sparring partner. I said,
yeah,
he asked me about being the sparring, I'm a sparring partner. I said, yeah. So he said, what's your name? I said, Eli Dixon. So they really didn't never see me this is the first time they ever saw me fight or
yeah.
box.
Of course.
And next thing you know, this was crazy as on the way. I got in with Samson, and this is the first time me and him ever dealt with one another. So
Uh huh.
by him being younger than me, I was way more experienced than him. So the his managers was looking at me, and they was like kind of blown away, like, wow, this who is this guy? And next thing you know, after we got done working out, the one manager came up to me and he said, "Are you
Hmm.
managed by anybody?" And I said, "No, not right now." And I said I was with Richard Cicchetti, but I ended up walking away from
Richard,
him.
you said that before. Richard Cicchetti, I remember that name,
Right.
from the boxing world. Tell the people who is Richard Cicchetti.
Okay. Richard Cicchetti was Larry Holmes' trainer, and what
Okay,
happened?
Richard Cicchetti. I heard the
Right.
name before. I heard it
Right.
before.
And what happened was Don King owed Richie a favor. So that's how he ended up getting with Mike Tyson. And he ended up training Mike Tyson and was training me at the same time.
Uh huh.
So, once Richard Cicchetti got in the picture, that's how everything kind of blew me up because it made me this, top sparring partner.
Of
So
course.
that's Cicchetti was one of the top trainers, especially having Larry Holmes, man. He was on top of his game. So,
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
Larry Holmes. Yeah, Eastern
yeah,
Assassin.
yeah. So, it worked out for me at that time. But when I had to let him go when things wasn't working out and I wasn't getting a chance to advance my career, I was getting like really upset and frustrated. So that's why I ended up breaking off from him. And you know, to make a long story short, is because it's kind of crazy how I end up getting with the Mormon people from St. George, Utah. Well, Richie had 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 a contract with me, and it was a contract that it was like a life. It was a slavery contract. And at that time, when he was still in camp with Mike Tyson, I was back home in Ohio, and he had a young lady that he was seeing that was around my age, me and my ex-wife age. And next thing you know, I went over there because she asked us to come over. So she told me, she said, you know, she said, I know that you and Richie been beefing. I said, yeah. I said, yeah, won't let me fight. And I said, I'm ready to just get away from him. And I said, I wish I could break the contract. So she ended up getting the contract that was in his house and she showed it to me. And she told me, she said, well, let me read it. And everything went back to paragraph 1. And
Yeah.
next thing you know, she told me out of her own mouth, she said, hey, listen, Eli, do you know you're in a slavery contract? And she said, because I used to model and do, model and stuff, so I know about some of the things that goes on when it comes to contracts. So
Of course.
I said, wow, I never really, took really, I never really paid it any attention because I really trusted him by him being from Ohio, and I was the top heavyweight in Cleveland, Ohio at the time. I didn't think that he would try to play me on anything. But once she got to reading it to me, I just kind of, cringed a little bit. And I was like, why did I sign this contract? Well, she said, listen, I feel real sorry for you and I hate that you're going through this. So she gave me the contract. She said, look, I'm going to give it to you. Just tell him that, you don't know nothing about, you don't know what the contract at or whatever. So, the, you know, I guess months went on, and next thing you know, he called me up and asked me could I come over and that I have a copy of my contract, and I act like I didn't know what was going on. I said, no, I don't know what's up, and it led from there. He kind of got really upset and was saying that that well I need you to come over so we can sit down and talk. And I said, well, Rich, you don't really have nothing to talk about. You with Mike
Yeah.
Tyson now. I said, I'm trying to get my career off and do what I need to do. I've been sitting for all these years
Yeah.
being a sparring partner, and I'm ready to advance and do what I need to do as a fighter. And at that time, he said, well, I got you on contract. And I said, well, I don't care about you having me on a contract. I said, but the thing is, you're not doing nothing for me. So he said, well, I gave you money and, And he said, and you don't want to mess with me because I'll take you to court and say that you forged checks. I said, forged some
Wow.
checks. I say, have you lost your mind? He was like, well, I don't think you want to fight with me. And do you know, months later, he did that. Next thing I know, I'm getting ready to fight in Akron, Ohio.
Hmm.
Just when I get in the ring, I noticed it was a lot of police that was around. I didn't really too much pay no attention. I think, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do my thing. Next thing you know, they end up arresting me.
Wow.
So I asked him, I said, well, listen, I said, by me being who I am, could you guys take me out the back door? Because I said, this is very embarrassing. But to go ahead and fast forward, I end up going to court. I end up talking to the judge, getting a lawyer. And I told them that I said that Richard Jacquetti and Don King was in corruption. And I said, I don't know if they paying off one of the jurors. And next thing I know, that
Yeah.
any one of them could be paying them off and can get me in a bunch of crap. And I said, and I don't know what's going on with this situation, but I just was a fighter that came out of the Olympics trying to do something positive and become a heavyweight champion of the world. So next thing you
Okay.
know, the judge took me in the chamber, and she asked me could I write Richie's name, and I'll end up writing the name. And she said, "This is not your signature, and this is not
Wow.
you had nothing to do with you." And that's how I kind of got out of it. So they end up dropping the charges, and me and Richie end up going our separate ways because he didn't have a contract on me. And that's how I end up getting out of that contract. So by the time to fast forward, I end up getting in touch with the guy Samson Puja, and they needed a sparring partner. So I was like, I don't want to do this again. But at that time, they was talking about paying me some good money to come out there to work out with this kid because they said he was a very good puncher and could nobody last the rounds with him. Well, I ended up going out there, met these millionaires. It was about maybe five of them, and they all was partners, and they all own different properties. Some had apartment buildings, some had, you know, houses. It was like a group, and next thing you know, they watched me box this kid, and they was just shocked. And next thing you know, after we got done working out, they said, are you with anybody, or are you managed by someone? And I said, no, I'm done with it. I said I used to be with Richard Cicchetti, and they didn't even know who Cicchetti was. They just
I
had
remember
big,
that name. I remember that name. Because that was a high profile name back
yeah,
then.
yeah,
It
yeah.
just when you said it, I was like, oh, okay, okay.
Because he had a twin brother, and they just was, they was big time. So next thing you know, um, the his manager said, well, can we sit down and talk? So he offered me, he said, well, I'd like to sign you to a contract, and I'd like to, get, how you come on our team. Man, next thing I know, he told me to call your family, tell them that, we're going to have somebody go down there and get all your furniture, and we'll fly them out first class. And
Wow.
you can start your career in St. George, Utah. At that time, bro,
This
I
was,
didn't
but,
even,
but this was weird. This is kind of weird
yeah,
because everybody's thinking that you climb yourself up in ranks. That's what you were taught, and then when you get here, wait a minute. This is a circus. This is a show that is being dictated because this is what you're saying.
yeah,
Um, and all of these things are happening, and you're watching it every day. You're watching this
every,
every day, and you like saying to yourself, "Wow, I thought I
mhm,
was just going to come up here and just fight." Well, little did you know it was a curtain. It was curtain time.
it was
So
curtain
you can
time.
continue your story. I'm just trying to put it in a nutshell of
Right.
basically how you're trying to piece it together. You
Yep.
back on the clock.
So I'm like, hoping that okay, I'm back in this situation again. But what kind of made me kind of feel a little happy was the fact that I had got money up front. They had brought me a house. They
Yeah.
had ended up moving my family up there. And at this time, the kid Samson Puha, instead of them giving him a house, they had gave him an apartment. So they knew that once they looked into my background, they said this guy won 2 silvers and a bronze medal.
Yeah.
And so they just felt that I was a way better fighter than him. Even though he was like maybe 10 and 0, he had to be 10 or 12 and 0, 12 and 0. And he was upcoming, but at that time, my record was nothing but 1-1. My record is 1-1. This kid had more fights than I had, and but they just was looking to build my career up. So
Yeah.
by that time, I ended up hooking up with them. We sat down with the lawyers, and they had their own lawyers, and they looked over the contract and they said, Eli, you have a really good, honest contract, and these guys are willing to really do some good things with you. I said, I'm in. And next thing you know, 6 months later, I had my first fight, and it was a kid that wanted to debut. And next thing I know, he was like a cruiserweight. So he's dealing with a full-fledged heavyweight. And I end up fighting the kid. And next thing I
Hmm.
know, after the fight, it was a guy back in Ohio. He was living in Vegas, and I fought at the it was called the what was the name of it? It was the Silver Nugget
Was that
in
you? That's
Vegas.
Vegas, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So when the guy named Drew, he was a ex pimp, but he called him Maserati, and he had got into boxing, and he was out in Vegas, and everybody knew him. So I kept hearing this guy say, "Man, you losing the fight. You losing the fight." So I look over. It was him. I said, "What's going on, Drew?" And he come to the ring, and he said, "Man, you better go ahead and get this boy out of here, cause you losing." And I'm looking at him like, "Is you crazy?" So I went out there the next round, and I just started putting it to him. But after the fight was over with, the kid got taken out of the ring. With the ambulance came and got him because I ended up giving him a blood clot, and he ended up ending his career at that time. After my fight, I didn't know it happened till about a month later. And they told me that the boy had to retire because he had a blood clot for
Well,
fighting
boxing is
me.
definitely it's a brutal sport. You remember, you're
Yeah,
going to the hit, you're trying to hit the head. I mean, no
yep,
matter what, the most important thing is you like wait. I'm trying to get to the head, the
right.
jaw, and
Eh,
you just never know what type of infliction you're going to put on somebody.
right.
You're fighting, but you already know what it is. It's possible that somebody can not get out of that ring. So, all right, back to
Uh,
you again.
yeah. So then, by that time, I end up fighting this kid to a draw,
Uh
and
huh.
I was like, wow. So what happened was at that time they still took interest in me, man. They really nice to me. They would fly me back and forth from St. George, Utah, to sometimes they go to LA, and it was more like trying to just show me off. You know what I'm saying? And they knew I was really popular in boxing at that time, and I was just kind of a little frustrated a little bit because I felt like I'm back in the same situation, but I'm not with Mike Tyson. I'm just with some guys that got big time money, and man, they were just spending all kind of stuff on me just to keep me happy. But I'm looking at when the next time I'm gonna fight, and they were saying,
Yeah.
well, we're gonna just see what's going on. You and Samson will be fighting on the same card. And so now I'm playing second to Samson. And I was thinking like that ain't what I really wanted to do. And next thing you know, maybe months later, I got a cross burnt in the front of my yard, and it was
Wow.
on the news. It was a cross burning, and this ain't happened in so many years, and it was on national TV, and people were like, "Man, that's Eli Dixon," and I end up leaving St. George, Utah, to move to I ended up moving to Warner Robins, Georgia, and that's
Yeah,
how I end
of
up
course.
meeting a guy named Abdullah Muhammad, and I just kind of like it was like switching from one thing to another thing, and next thing you know, I was like by the time right on
But now,
point.
was that a racial slur to you with the burning cross?
Yeah, yeah, I think so because what happened was the guy that was supposed to be training me, he
Hmm.
went back and told the millionaire people that I told a lie. He said, "No, this guy ain't wearing two silvers and a bronze medal." So when the guy Jay Ince, his name was he had Jay Ince Realty, and he was sitting up there. He said, "Wait a minute, hold up." He said, "You telling me that this kid never had won two silvers?" So once he came and confronted me, he really liked me a lot, and he just was saying, "Hey, look, Eli, this is what this guy said about you," and I showed him the proof. And I just told him I cannot, I don't want to be trained by no guy like that. And that's why we end up going our separate ways. At that time, he had brought me a brand new truck. He gave me he brought a house that was worth
It's
about,
obvious you were on the radar. It
yeah,
was obvious you were definitely on the radar. They just, it sounds like they were trying to break you down and
yeah,
see
hmm
if you would kind of conform to the show because they wanted you to be a part of the show.
right,
Um, and you never know where it might have like really have led you, but in your heart, you felt like you wasn't doing fair fighting. It was
right,
just they telling you what to do.
right,
So, I mean, we've seen movies, but we never really met somebody who was willing to open up and tell people a true story. And like you said, you don't want to mislead young people and not want to do it
right.
because what happened in the past might not be happening now. And
Mm,
but the point is, you were in the height of boxing
that's
because
right.
it was quite a few heavyweights back then.
Right. And it was just, from that point, I felt like man, I just got out of this situation and I'm back in it again. And once I end up packing my stuff up because it was like time to leave. And that's when I was on my way to Georgia. And I met another brother that was an Islamic brother that I really, thought that was really nice. And I could trust
Uh-huh.
him. And he had more of a pure heart when it came to just believing in what he believed in Islam, and I was a person that believed in Islam, so we kind of clicked. And I got there, and to show you how when you meet a brother like that, he told me, he said, "Listen, Eli, man, I know you can fight." He said, "But can we do something different?" And I said, "Well, what's going on?" He said, "Everybody gonna think that by you having you one and one, that you're gonna be considered to be a bum." And he said that they're gonna know your amateur background, but I think we can get by if you willing to play the game. I said, sure. So what we gonna have to do? We're gonna fight number undefeated fighters, and they're gonna think that they can beat you, and they're gonna end up losing. And that's exactly what happened. So next thing you know, I'm going to North Carolina. I'm going to South Carolina. I'm going to, we go to Pennsylvania. We'll come back to Georgia. And
Hmm.
everybody that wanted to fight me, I ended up knocking them out. So next thing you know, after I got like maybe seven and one.
Yeah,
Next thing you know, he wanted to fight Emmanuel Store fighter, and it was Michael Moore, the former heavyweight champion, got knocked
I
out
remember
by
Michael
George
Moore.
Foreman.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was his brother, and I ended up fighting him. and end up beating him on the decision. And that kind of like put me up there. Once I got to that point, people was
They
like,
knew.
okay,
Yeah, they knew.
they knew what was going on. But the killing thing is that if I would have went into another camp, it would have happened to me again. And what the thing that I could tell younger fighters is that you have to make sure that you manage by the right people and you train by the right people, or it's gonna be good or bad for you. So in that incident, once this guy just took me under his wing, I ended up winning. Next thing you know, I'm 13. I'm 13 and one. You know, and then, like I said, at that time, Abdullah Muhammad had some other things going on, and I ended up going back home
Hmm.
to Ohio, and we didn't fall out or nothing like that. We ain't had no bad blood. It's just he made money, I made money. Remember I told you about the Bone Crusher Smith? Remember I
Yeah, of
told you,
course.
right? So that's when me and him had to go through that situation, and I ended up getting another loss on my record. So that kind of made me 13-2, and it was because of that situation with that Bone Crusher Smith. And I
Yeah.
ended up meeting my other manager, who ended up getting me the championship fight over in England. And
And where
man,
was the fight at in England? You
it,
remember the
it,
place?
it was called. Let me just make sure that it was.
It had to have been some type of major arena, though.
No, it wasn't at that. I could, man, it's been so long. But it was a real big. It was a big arena. I couldn't think of the name of it, but I know Sheffield. It was in Sheffield, in that area. So that's kind of like a real middle class type of area in
Yeah. Do you
London.
have footage? Do you have footage
Yeah,
like actually on YouTube and all that
yeah.
of a
Well,
lot of your fights?
yeah, well, I do. If you look it up, it'll show you the fighters like Klitschko, Galata, and Jimmy Thunder.
Yeah.
So if anybody was to go on there, they'll see it. And I noticed they took took a couple of them off, and I didn't know the reason behind that, but I don't know if it was just them taking it off, but the ones that they're still on there is the ones that was on TV, so they can't really take them off. So I got two of them still on there, and that's with Klitschko and Galata. And the Jimmy Thunder, I fought him in Palm Springs, Florida.
Oh,
And
okay.
so it was just that at that time, you know, I felt like I was on my way, at least getting up there. And next thing you know, from that point, after going through this, I ended up going back home, and I met a guy named Jeff. I mean, his name was Westmoreland, Jim Westmoreland, and that's the person that got me to fight over in London. And he was with Don King. He was a matchmaker for Don King for a while. But I told him that, hey man, I'm willing to fight, and whoever I need to, get up there with. So he took
Yeah, because
a
you still
interest
fighting
in.
for some money now at this point,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah. No, because you're right now. He didn't got me after I fought for the title. It jumped me in a bigger tax bracket, and it made me, start making at least over $100,000, and that was good for me. But I would have had to sign with some of the big promoters. So by that time, he ended up hooking me up with Andrew Galata. Now my record now is 19 and 3. I think it's 19-3. And Galata lost 3 fights, and that's how I ended up fighting him. So
Okay.
going through all of this, it really woke me up, man. It made me really take some time out, bro, and just sit down and think about where my career was going. But in the meantime, what I can say is I thank God that He gave me a clear conscience about how how to go about everything, because Now I'm making money, but I'm putting money away because when I would go into certain camps, I remember when I was in Tyson camp, I
Yeah.
remember seeing um, Tony Tucker, Tony Tubbs, um, Greg Page, Oliver McCall. I saw these guys in camp became Mike Tyson's sparring partner. Now these are the guys that Mike beat to take the title from. You get what I'm saying? This is like crazy.
Yeah.
And if they had money, why would they go to camp and spar with Mike Tyson, knowing that they made millions of dollars? So I'm thinking like, no, they did make millions of dollars. Don King probably gave them $50,000 a pop, and told him I was that he was gonna get them big money and never gave it to him because I
Well,
couldn't understand how they end up being a sparring partner for Mike Tyson and they was the heavyweight champion of the world. That didn't make sense to me. I was blown away behind that, and I couldn't understand it. So you know, as as the years went on, it made me be really cautious about what was going on because to the young people out there, you got you got pimps and you got prostitutes. We are the prostitutes, they are the pimps. And you thinking that you're doing good, but you know what? You only there just for a season. If it don't work out, you're gonna get kicked to the curb. And it made me really wake up to see what was going on, and I had to get my head clear because at the end of the day, I wanted to be the last man standing. And that's what made me think about saving my money, thinking about business, becoming an entrepreneur, and try to kind of keep
yeah,
things just keep things together because I knew that at the bottom line, I still had this secret about the Don King, the Mike Tyson, because at the end of the day, I was just going through the phase, and the stuff that I end up going through. You don't think that you're gonna turn around and think that you're gonna live a normal life and you owe the RS over $100,000, or
yeah.
you end up, thinking that you waiting for 1099 and they never sent it. So then next thing you know, they say, hey, you owe all this money. You're like, no, I can't be owing all this money. So it can mess your whole situation up at
Of
any
course.
given time. So, from that point, that kind of made me really look at things different. And I had it like been holding back for so many years to say, man, should I tell this story? What should I do? Because I got to school the younger kids out there. Because like going into a boxing gym to see other kids and you see
Hmm.
them with a lot of talent. And a lot of times I'm watching the coaches and they don't know what the hell they doing. They don't know if the kid throwing a good right hand or a decent left hook. And it was like it's not like it was back in the old days when you had the Sugar Ray Leonard, the Marvin Hagler, the Tommy Hearns. You had some really good coaches. And
I mean, you
I
were in the best era of boxing. That was the
right,
best
and that
era.
there you absolutely
You
right
talking about
because
Hitman Hearns and all of them guys?
yeah,
It was loaded, and but the thing was, I remember that at any given time, anybody could really lose back then. There
yeah,
was
and then
no favorite, favorite. Even you were in the heavyweight division, and even in that division, there were a couple guys that was clocking each other. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
right,
And, and,
because
and everybody know that it all depends on who hits the chin first, and that's
that's right.
basically it.
And you going down because you got to remember he had 10 heavyweights. You looking at the 10 heavyweights because like I said, when anytime you got Tony Tucker, Tony Tubbs, Greg Page, Oliver McCall. You had, these are all guys that was champion. Bone Crusher Smith was a
You
champion
know who
at
was
that
big
time.
though? Frank Bruno. He was
Oh
big.
yeah, and he was from England. When he came over to fight Tyson, That was just when Tyson had got out of jail, and they figured, okay, that would be a warm-up fight. And you see what Tyson did to him. But I don't take nothing away from Tyson. The only thing that I really got a beef with him about was that as a champion, Muhammad Ali he was a champion. He kept his image up no matter what. Even if he lost, he kept his image up. And when you see Mike Tyson now, and you see him on these on YouTube, and
Yeah.
next thing you know, this guy sitting up here smoking, smoking on his show, and just cussing. That right there makes me look at him totally different. And this is the guy that also went
Muhammad
to
Ali was
jail
the greatest
of
entertaining
all
boxer
time.
of
Right.
all time, and he was very socially conscious. So
Right.
that's one of the reasons why I kind of like LeBron James. Well, I like LeBron's game, but that's
Mm.
something else. That's another quality about him that I do like. But continue the story.
And it's funny that you said that, because as a kid, my father was in the Nation of Islam, and next thing you know, me and him went to go see Muhammad Ali fight. Now, this is gonna really throw it's gonna make you think about this. I never told my brothers and sisters in this story, and I think now that I'm on the show, it's gonna come out. My father never wanted me to say nothing to him. He said, "You keep this promise." My father is passed now, but he said, "You keep this promise and don't never, you know, you just keep quiet and don't ever say nothing." But what happened was, my father took me to go see Muhammad Ali fight Ken Norton, and Ken Norton
Hmm.
broke Muhammad Ali's jaw. So they said, when we went to the dressing room to see him, my father, they said, my father said, "I'm coming to see Muhammad Ali," and they said, "Well, brother Richard is outside." He said, "Oh, that's brother Richard from Cleveland, Ohio, because he had three hardware stores." And when
Yeah,
Muhammad Ali came to Ohio, it was a place on Superior called Shabazz Restaurant, and Muhammad Ali used to go there and and eat, and that's how I ended up meeting my father. So next thing you know, um, Muhammad Ali, we walked in, and he said, "What's your name?" And I said, "Elijah." He said, "Elijah Muhammad?" I said, "No, no, Elijah Dixon." He said, "I said Elijah Muhammad." I said, "No, Elijah Dixon." So years later, I fought at the Black Expo, and everybody told me that Muhammad Ali was giving our trophies um, for the championship. Next thing you
hmm,
know, I ended up knocking a white kid out in the first round, and Muhammad Ali gave me the trophy. And I said, "Muhammad," I said, "you don't remember me, but I'm Elijah." And he ended up saying, "Elijah Muhammad," because that's just when he was getting Parkinson's disease.
yeah.
But he remember who I was, and that probably was one of the moments that me
Yeah,
being
he was
able to
funny
see
too.
him.
Remember, he was
Yeah,
he was very, very, very funny guy,
yeah,
and
and
well spoken, and he was a
mhm,
great. Like I said, the most important thing, he carried both the torches greatly. He was a great uh, conscious person as well as a great boxer, and
mhm.
it's not many that's ever been like him, and he had superstardom on him. He brought him out.
Right. And and that's why I said, when he did that, the the years that, me coming up as a heavyweight, for him to remember that was a special moment for me, because that's what really made me who I am, and like I said, I always felt like Tyson wouldn't have never been able to beat me, by me looking at Tyson like a Joe Frazier, and I'm looking at myself like a Muhammad Ali. That image stayed in my heart, and it was like, no brawler can beat a boxer, but not unless you get caught, if you get hit with some big shots. And I think me going through all the things that I went through, there was like reasons why I went through them phases, because I
Mm-hmm.
was growing. It was like teaching me the game, and so you can imagine how I'm thinking now as a 54-year-old person. It's like I kind of know everything. I can tell you when you bull crapping me. I can tell you when you're not being honest. I can tell you when you're lying to me, and I know the figures now. So you know, it probably would be in my advantage now because if I did get a kid that had a career going, I could kind of coach him more in the right way and tell him this is how you go about doing what you need to do. And
Yeah.
it was just going back and just seeing all of this, man, and just experience it. It was overwhelming, man. It really was. And all I can say now is that to the younger people out here, and I'm really gonna reach out to them. You have to be careful when you're dealing with boxing. Boxing is very critical. You can you can mess yourself up over the years because the body is not made to be beat on. And the best thing I can tell a young kid now is that you have to invest your money the right way. Because if you do not, you're gonna look up and you're gonna be a statistic. You're not gonna have nothing. And and
Oh
like
yeah, you
now,
definitely gotta have that.
right? And when I look back at my career, like in the development that I live in the community, the houses are worth 300,000 and more. And
Mm-hmm.
and you got the high $200,000 houses too. But it's just that I'm glad I had the opportunity to be able to just stay on my level and be able to understand that what I feel like I learned a lot and I was taught how to really have an open mind to different things and I don't want to
Of
see
course.
these young kids get get punished in any kind of way. And it's like for a
Well, you
guy
gotta
to
remember though. You gotta remember when people are doing something of that magnitude, they're doing it to change their lifestyle. So you're trying to come to them and let them know that it's brutal and it could damage you, but you know life is a risk, period, and
right,
they're gonna take that risk because it's just been too many people that been boxers and that's gonna make them go out there. I saw that guy Javante, Javant from Baltimore. Man, he clocked that
oh
dude.
yeah, that, like I said, and I think that kid is a very tough kid. He he's he's at a good place in his life. What I don't want to see happen to a person like that is that you got a lot of leeches, and a lot of times, if you're not smart and you don't turn around and have somebody that know how to manage your money, you know what end up happening years later. It's gonna be a waste,
Yeah,
and
of course.
that's what scares me about boxing because you can be on top now, but years later you can look back and you'll end up being a Mildred Taylor. And
Yeah.
if you go on YouTube and see the picture of Mildred Taylor now and look at his fights when he was young, it will probably just you would just end up shaking and cringing when you see the way this man look. He
I
doesn't look
just think
this.
the older you get, and if you start getting past 40 something, you can hit the mat because you're just not as sharp as you once were. You might have the power, but you're just not as sharp as you once was. And you got to remember, you're dealing with hungry people that's trying to take you out. So,
Oh yeah, yeah,
boxing, what George Foreman did to me was amazing. How he came back and he fought a couple people. But I noticed they didn't really put him out there with like no,
yeah.
teed off with no serious. because it would have been a different thing. But it was great for boxing, and the story was great. So they wanted to keep that story great. That's what they
and
did.
you know it's and this show you that you very educated in this game. And you know what? The fighters that came up back in the days, like in the 80s, and came up,
It was crazy.
and you know what? They
Every,
made
I think every
they
division was great back
Yeah,
then.
yeah, that's right. And they made money. You look at Sugar Ray Leonard, he's a legend. He's gonna always have money because he won a gold medal, and you get royalties from that. You know what I'm saying? So you got a chance to really. I mean, that man was smart. He knew he had the right people in his corner.
Sugar Ray Leonard, if I'm not mistaken, him and Roberto Duran had like one of the greatest three fights ever in boxing. And
Mhm.
so if anybody don't know the history on that, if you're young, just do your history. And they were going at it. He was a true
Right,
boxer with style. Roberto Duran was a bull, and this is boxing at his height, and that's just that division.
right.
So I mean, and after that, I believe it's Marvin Hagler and all those guys started
Yeah.
coming up. Um, of course, the era you were in. I mean, if you look at your record, it's obvious that you were a great boxer. It's just that you got caught up in the. Do we want y'all to? Do we really want to see you step it up and win? So
Mm,
that's the kind of story you're telling.
right.
Um, and you look at your record and then a person gonna say, well, dang, he had 15 knockouts. Wait a minute now. That's not usually they might have like 7 or 8,
Mm.
if
And a
and,
low.
and still have 9 or 10 losses. But to say you had 15, that you was clocking a couple people.
Yeah, I wish, I think if I wouldn't have got frustrated, I probably had a lot more fights, but I'm
But they
glad
weren't
it,
allowing you to box. They
yeah,
weren't
and
allowing you to box.
yeah, and God was paying attention to what was going on because, he always looked out for me in a way to say, hey, look, you know what? Maybe it's time for you to do something else. And I think now that when I go into the gyms now, I got something to give back to the kids. And it's really basically my heart saying, look, I tell them I don't want you taking shots. This is how you have to go about doing this. If you got good defense and you got a good offense, then it's gonna be easier how to deal with your defensive game. But you gotta also have people that live that situation and did it for them to be able to tell a kid, hey, this is how you advance to the next level. And man, I think when I had a chance to talk to some of the other heavyweights that now the
Yeah,
same
of course.
age as me, you know, it is sad. It's sad, and it's something
Because
that really,
you didn't come into you came into it with a fair mind that look, if I win, I win. If I lose, I lose. It. That's no matter what. That's how you came in, and then you found out. Wait a minute, there's curtains. Uh, there's a shoulder. This is a microphone. It's a speaker. It's this and it's that, and even what you're doing right now is very courageous because I know that the story is going to get around eventually. It's
oh
going to
yeah.
it's going to attach to somebody, and they're like, "Yo, look at this," you know,
Hmm.
and you know, people people don't understand how they affect, and you were affected from that. And who's to say right now that you couldn't have been 25-2 if they would have just let you fight
Right.
29 or 20. So the minute you started losing, it was because your mental wasn't there from a standpoint of what are they going to tell me to do? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's right. And it made me grow up, man. It really made me see things a little different. Even at the fact that, I talk to people and just like the election that we're dealing with right now. You know how many black folks, and they say, "Hey, look, check this out. I'm not I'm not voting." I said, "But your vote count. I mean, everybody should vote, even if you don't like the guy. If you like him or you like the other one, it make a difference." And it's just that right now people don't understand that. But me
They
coming up
understand
and
it.
me coming up, I just thank God I saw the good and the bad, and I can look back now and I can just I could pat my own self on the back and say, "Hey, I did it Frank Sinatra way," you know. And they might not
You
have
did it
liked
my
how I
way.
did it. Yeah, I did it my way because hey, I learned a lot from it, and I got a lot to give to a younger kid that's coming up in that game. And like now, I'm at a boxing gym right now training. I'm helping a coach train some younger kids, and every day when I talk to them, I try to get in their head to make them understand that if
Yeah.
you really want
Do
to
you?
do this, you do it the
Yeah.
right way.
Do you see some potential in the kids that you're fighting? I mean, you're teaching how to fight.
Every Yes, it's about, I say out of that gym, it's at least five of them got a chance to be in the top 10 divisions.
Wow.
And I had
Now
I had
you're
it
not
I
in
had
Cleveland right now, are you? You in
no
Cleveland?
no
Okay.
I'm in Georgia.
Oh,
But
okay.
the killing thing is, it's strange how I end up hooking up with this coach, because I was looking for a place just to work out, just to keep myself and physically, fit.
Yeah.
And when I walked in there, he asked me, "So, what are you trying to do?" I said, "Well, I said, I wouldn't mind training some fighters." And he said, "Well, I need some help. If you don't mind helping, don't mind helping." He said,
Of
"Cause
course.
he said I can use a trainer." And it just really, it gave me that motivation to do it again.
Yeah.
And like now, when by me telling the story, because I'm definitely thinking about trying to really put this out in the opening, because I want to really show people step by step, and do more of a movie to show them how things really happen from the beginning to the end. And now I'm back again training some kids, to where
Yeah.
now I'm not gonna let them make the same mistake I made. See,
I
now
would
I
be
could
I
tell
would be
them.
interested though. I really would be interested to see if you really fought and had a fair shot, because technically you nobody knows, because you know the way they set it up, or whatever you want to call it. you know Clearly you could have been one of those guys out there that had the bigger name, if they're telling you to go to sleep. You know what I mean? So,
Right. Yeah.
you know but okay. Well, I'm quite sure you could just go on and on with your story. What do you think about
Hmm.
the this is to switch it up a little bit. What do you think about the election? Now, from what I'm hearing, Biden is closing in on the 270 is the number. And they said if he wins Pennsylvania, Trump loses. But remember, he has to win, so everybody gotta understand. Don't go to sleep, because
Yeah.
you know it can get close again, and it's very close though.
Yeah. Well, the way I'm looking at it now is that Biden is just maybe like not, he's real close to winning it. And I really believe at this time, Trump time is up. And I don't see him having a chance of winning this. I
Now
don't.
I'm gonna tell you how this thing could backfire though. Let me tell you how it can backfire.
Mm,
Okay, he was trying to push the stimulus in. All right,
Oh, okay.
Uh, so the girl, which is Pelosi,
Mm.
she wanted to do it after the election.
Election. Hmm.
Okay, there's a problem already because he's taking it to the courts, and they're trying to accommodate him and his team to basically watch the vote, and, the envelopes and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
So it's already, doing something else already. And and now this is what I said.
Hmm.
Remember, he doesn't leave the office until January. So if he was trying to push that money out, right?
Hmm.
Well, he can be on some. Well, we still got to talk about it,
Yeah.
and it might not happen this year. He might
No.
wait till it goes to next year. So, because hey, you never know. So it's going to be funny how that whole little stimulus thing comes back around, and how are they going to handle it? Because technically, you're supposed to still give it out right after the election, but it seems like they're going to be talking about this for like 2 weeks, you
Right.
know,
And you
and
know
but
what's
he's
crazy?
still going to be the president. So, you know,
Yeah. And let me tell you that this is a crazy thing too. Georgia right now, Biden and Trump is tied here in Georgia right now. They
and
just
he was
got
supposed
neck.
to win it, and he was
Right.
supposed to win it.
Yeah. It just got neck to neck. And let me tell you, and that really made me kind of see what's going on here in Georgia. Because anytime you have half and half, that's like that, it's just letting you know, man, that,
Divided. It's
yeah,
divided.
yeah, it is. And it's gonna take a minute for people to kind of be comfortable with each other, man, because this changed everybody's life, man. This is deep, and it's good when me and you could talk, or we could tell a story, because you can imagine how many people right now are depressed in a situation. It just thank God that I'm still able to work. Thank God that I'm in a situation where I got
Mental
my
health
little,
is
yeah,
big time right now because
yeah,
of being feeling like you have to stay in the house still. Now, according to them, like I
mhm,
said, I listen to this stuff all the time. They're saying that the COVID-19 is hotter than it was last year right now. So I mean, we got an election going on. People still ain't they still partying and dancing on the bar, and you
yeah,
know, and I don't know why, but they doing it, and they basically telling you, you throwing dice on the wall, but they just still not saying it the way it's supposed to be said, because you wouldn't go out if it was brought to you in a different manner. Just like whatever happened to you, you
mhm,
didn't it didn't affect you until it was brought to you. So if
mhm,
you don't if you're not mentally, somebody just coming up to you and really telling you, yo, you don't need to go out, da da da, they don't even listen to people like that. They might still dancing and partying, and the holidays came up, ain't nobody care, man. It's like,
yeah.
who cares?
And,
It's
and
just
and
crazy. It's just crazy to me, man. Just to be
and
throwing dice on the wall, going out like that.
and then the killer thing is the little money that they're giving us, man. That's chicken change. It's just, and but
It's
people don't
designed
have it.
though. It is
Yeah,
designed. It is
yeah,
designed for people to be really, really, really rich, and designed for people to be really, 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 really poor. And
that's
they say
right.
it's for the people, but clearly you got people still living in the street.
Oh
Clearly you got
man,
people that went to college and all types of stuff. And guess what happened? They never got a job that they went to a school for. They had to
hmm,
get another job. They had to get a job, and the job told them you got to be trained again, because that's not
right.
what we doing. So
And that,
I hear that all the time now, man.
man, heck, it's a shame. Just like when people go to college now, they get in financial debt after
Got to
college.
pay it
It's
back.
crazy. And right, and that mess our situation up, especially when you on money and you trying to get a house, you trying to do this, you trying to get married and establish yourself.
Got
It's
to pay back.
difficult. This is
All
it's
of it,
cruel.
it's credit. That's what I keep
Yeah,
telling everybody. It's just like having a credit card. They say, oh, credit is incredible. What's the difference in you just having physical cash over credit? So at least you know what you got in
yeah,
your head.
eh,
Because if you mess around with that credit card, it might say $50,000 or $35,000, limit, but you ain't got 35,000 in the bank. So
yeah.
why would you spend $35,000 over credit? Now you owe money again.
Hey
So
man, it's hard now. I'm telling you, it's hard, man. And people that got money, they better be smart and not be out there spending it because we don't know what's
yeah,
gonna happen. And I'm hoping they say by tonight that they said they should have, let us know.
yeah, it's supposed to be done by the night. We'll know by
Yeah,
tomorrow morning when we wake up.
yeah,
It's
we'll
gonna be
see
a
what's
story.
going on.
All right, so that's round two. I got to catch you for round three. It's just a matter of putting you in here and scheduling you. Quite sure you got some more stories to tell.
Yeah,
Um, it's Eli Dixon, former boxer, heavyweight boxer. He's fought some heavy names. Uh, Klitschko. Who else? Bone Crusher.
and
And I mean,
Andrew
fighting a guy
Gillard.
named Bone Crusher. I mean, you gotta be have a little tick in there because that name sounds like he ready to destroy you.
Yeah, he was trying.
Yeah,
He was trying.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna end it right here. Once again, it's Eli Dixon. It's the SL Digital Media Podcast. It's a tell-all boxing story. Hey man, look, y'all need to rewind this tape because he's telling some real stories. Peace
Oh
out.
yeah.